like to call this meeting to order for the board meeting today. If you would please join me in standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please let us have a moment of silence. Thank you. Distanced properly. Our vision is working together with our community. We inspire our students to discover their talents and rise to their greatest potential. Our mission is building on the strengths of our diverse community. We create an engaging, comprehensive, educational environment that supports the growth of lifelong learners. Dr. Hayworth?
We need a roll call first. President Lauer.
Please.
Mr. Irwin?
Present.
Mrs. Killian?
Present.
Mrs. Lohr? Present. Mrs. Lauer?
Present.
Dr. Powers?
Present.
Ms. Scott?
Here.
Mrs. Wise?
Present. Now, Dr. Hayworth.
Madam President, members of the school board, the administration recommends approval of donations to the following programs: the backpack program, the gifted and talented program, and Terre Haute North Vigo High School.
So moved.
Second. Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion is approved. Thank you. Now it's time for the first call for citizens' comments. Citizens may comment on agenda items only at this time. We have Randy Pettit, Tyler Ritchie, Caleb Pettit. And would you like to approach the podium and state your name, please?
Good evening, I'm Randy Pettit. I'm the owner of Pettit & Associate School Picture Company, along with my family. We have been in the school picture business, my wife and I, for over 45 years, and our family has joined, we're happy to say, except for one. And she didn't want to play with us, so we sent her away. We've been servicing the Vigo County schools over the last 7 years, and we've had a good run, to be honest. We know this business in and out. We've done it for a long time. We've made a lot of good relationships, and that is one of our big concerns, as we see on the agenda, which we found out Friday. No call, no heads up. We had to look it up ourselves. That's okay. I've done a million of these things, and everyone does them different. But I would just throw this in as a matter of courtesy for a local vendor. Maybe a little heads up. It might make you guys look good, and it would sure make us feel better. But anyhow, as this, we service 150 counts from Crawfordsville to Washington, Brownsburg, south to we do Vincennes, Princeton. We're not a local school picture company that does Vigo County only, and that's a good thing for us. Because to be honest, we didn't have this business. When the bid for corporation came out 12 or 13 years ago, we didn't get it. We didn't get it, and I could refresh all your memories if you want to hear that long story, but we don't, and I don't. We didn't get it the second bid, but we did after that, and we feel like we've done a good job. I'll throw this in also. I have no written agreement with any Vigo County employee. We have no contract, and have never had one. Why is that? Okay. I understand there's a company out of North Carolina that is going to be, we hope not, but we would wish you would reconsider that you're going to, or is going to be brought forward to you guys to recommend for a 3-year contract. Now, according to the bid that I got and the specs that I got, this was a sealed bid. So that'd be like me dropping a mailing it to North Carolina, Pettit and Associates, and they picked me to do their school pictures. Because I don't know any schools that they do in the area. That also was part of the bid. Local references, they don't have any. Show me them, let us see it. We never saw any of that. So that's another part of our concern. I don't want to sound all, look, I understand business, okay? I'm getting up in years there a little bit. Thanks. Oh, he's got the timer on me. Look, we know our quality, our service, our products. We keep up with everything. We speak at national conventions for school picture photography companies. It's called the PPS. We do all that. My point being, we don't know why we didn't get the business. We would have looked at it this way on a personal level. If I'm bidding this thing out, I'm going to call in the people that we deal with, principals every day, athletic directors, yearbook sponsors. I want to find out their problems. Were there any? We didn't hear any. We asked them. We go right to the door. We knock on the door. Any problems we're having today? Did we have any? Sure, we had a couple of problems here and there. We're going to have. That's the nature of this business. It's the nature of any volume type business that's going to happen. And I want to throw this in also. Our COVID response this year was excellent.
30
We
seconds
never
remaining.
missed a date. Pardon me?
Said 30 seconds remaining.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm pretty much going to cover everything. I guess I should have asked for, Caleb, you'll have to figure out what I missed. Well, in closing, we live here, we bank here, we go to church here, we leave money here in the community. We hire all Vigo County graduates. Every one of our employees is a Vigo County employee
That's your
or
job.
a
Thank you.
graduate. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit.
Good evening, folks. Will you let me know whenever that timer starts, please? My name is Caleb Pettit with Pettit School Photos. Did you say it started?
Yep.
Okay. Some questions to follow up from my dad. First of all, I want to thank my dad for coming. He's semi-retired. He doesn't need to do this, and it's very emotional for me and my family. Okay. So for you, I want you all to understand that. He didn't need to do this, but he did. We've lived here for 40 years. Some questions that we would have asked had we been in charge of a bid process like this. Was it about price? Was it about service? Was it about quality? Was it about commissions? Was it about local representation of some sort or lack of? Was it personal? This is a 2-year process. This is a culmination of a 2-year process that started in the summer of 2019, okay? We didn't officially find out until about a month later. Folks started asking questions before they let anybody know there was a bid process. We live here. These are our neighbors and friends. People are going to talk and they're going to tell us, okay? So over the last 2 years, this decision has been pushed back 3 times. We've received 3 different requests for bids from this corporation, okay? What were their local references? Ours included a reference from every one of your buildings. It also included a reference from Marshall's superintendent, from South Vermilion's superintendent, and from Clay County's superintendent, and from schools in Sullivan, Washington, Vincennes, Princeton. We drive a lot. We've had a really successful run, and we've grown every year we've been in business. Why is that? And who are our clients? Who are these schools that decide to choose to do business with us? 90% of them are from national companies who can't service these schools appropriately. They love calling someone and getting a decision maker. They love that, okay? How much did these references, or lack thereof, weigh in on this final decision? How involved were principals, secretaries, athletic directors, yearbook reps in this decision? Because every one of them hardly knew anything about this process when we asked them. Secondly, they're asking me, as in months ago, a couple of people asked me, hey, have you heard a decision yet? No, sorry, man. We were told not to contact anybody. May 1st was the final decision, supposed to be the final decision. May 1st, we received an email that said, we're pushing it back to June. Why? Well, because we had one more bit of business to do. We had to do the graduations. So we had to get those taken care of, I guess. It's now 6:15, and nobody from the Vigo County School Corporation has contacted us to let us know that we will not be the school picture provider for next year, or the next 3 years, since this is a 3-year bid. We had, like my dad said, we had to find that on our own. We had to look at agenda meetings on Friday. Did we screw something up? Because we got no feedback. We've never gotten an email or a call that said we screwed something up, anything major than what most companies go through, and easily fixable. And that's the difference between us and a Life Touch or an Interstate or a Strawbridge. Even if our prices were all the same, and they're not, we're cheaper. Even if everything was the same, can you get a hold of Randy Pettit or Caleb Pettit when you pick up the phone? Or do you call a call service? Or do you call a rep who has to talk to his boss, his boss, his boss? Why is a purchasing business manager involved in a decision where no funds from the Vigo County School Corporation are used? You're not using any funds here. We actually pay you. How did Strawbridge, this particular company, find out? That was what my dad was getting at as far as being a mail order company. If you do a sealed bid with a business like this, that service is such a huge part, what I could do right now is I could come up with a bid and I could send it to Las Vegas School Corporation. I'll just open a phone book and I'll put a bid in, Pettit Photo, and we'll put up the best bid, $5 pictures all around for everybody. And we'll win that bid. Then what? Now what? Now we got a school corporation business in Vegas. It's not, this company is so unproven that out of the 4 companies that put a bid in for this, you pick the 4th best. We share the same goals as everybody in this room. I graduated from Terre Haute South University. High school. I went to Indiana State University. I stayed here. I went to Dixie Bee, Honey Creek. My brother and sister the same. My dad has been in the school picture business for 50 years, and he put 3 children through college. That's because he's good at it.
30 seconds.
Branding was an issue on one of the RFPs, one of the 3. What possibly could brand your corporation better than tying it in with local businesses? I mean, showcase that every week. Put that in everyone's face. People love that. I worked in marketing briefly before I worked for my dad. You know, all you got to do is show people, hey, this is Pettit, Mrs. Pettit, this is Caleb Pettit. He went to this, every one of our employees, like my dad said, Vigo County graduates, all their children attend. I believe that's it. I've run out of gas.
Yeah,
Thank you, folks, for your time. I certainly appreciate it. So does my family.
thank you. Thank you for your time. And Tyler Ritchie.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tyler Ritchie, also a local business owner, and just have worked with the Pettits over the last few years. And I know Evan, his Caleb's brother, couldn't be here tonight. He was on vacation and kind of found out last minute, couldn't get back. But yeah, it was the same thing. It was just questioning the committee's process with who they chose, how they chose them, the interview process, and just being, a parent of a student. Dealing with the Pettits through school photos, sports photos, everything in the community. I just see the charitable acts that they're always doing. They're always available. They're always, there for all of our kids. And me just being curious, I look up this company and I see their recent Yelp reviews, and, that kind of scares you, where you're going from something that is good to something with a lot of complaints online. So, yeah, just a couple of the questions were just, why weren't there any in-person interviews, over the last 2 years, and I guess why it took those 2 years to kind of go through these companies. So, yeah, it's just transparency with the whole process and just having questions over that. So, thank you for your time. I don't mean to talk. Yeah.
Thank you. We're ready for the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now for the May accounts payable docket. Finance committee met, and we had some questions as to some interactions that we didn't know the vendors' names, and we had to ask for clarification. And Donna Wilson and Cindy were absolutely very clear and good about explaining those things to us in email after that. So, could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I just wanted to say thanks to Donna for providing that list of common vendors. You know, I was on the finance committee last year, and so I kind of got to know those names. And then obviously there's different people on the finance committee this year, so they're learning those names. And if you haven't had the chance to be on the finance committee, you can kind of see those names and a description of kind of what they do, and that's very helpful for all board members. So thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now on to new business, the personnel report, professional leave requests.
I will do that for
Okay.
Michael Cox. The administration recommends the personnel report as presented.
So moved.
The second,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President, I'd like to take this opportunity to point out two people that are in the audience tonight that they were on the personnel report. I would ask Cindy Robat to stand up, please. Cindy has been an educator for 22 years. She is a licensed special ed teacher. She began her career at Fuquay Elementary. She then moved to Devaney Elementary, where she taught for 12 years. Cindy has most recently served as the assistant principal in charge of curriculum and instruction at Terre Haute South Vigo High School. She has experience working with Booker T. Washington when Dr. Tammy Rochendale served as the principal. In addition, she has been heavily involved in working with VBSA and the South counseling staff as students transition from VBSA into South this year. She will bring a wealth of knowledge to this particular position. Please welcome her as the principal of Booker T. Washington and VBSA. The second individual I would like to recognize is our new coordinator of safety and security, Kurt Greniger. Kurt, a 1991 graduate of Indiana State University, where he majored in criminology and a minor in political science. He has worked in the Terre Haute Police Department since 1991. He has served as a uniformed division, as a parole officer, a detective in the Drug Task Force unit, served on the Honor Guard team for 20 years. As an instructor and field training officer, he has assisted in the training of every officer currently in the department. He has been a school protection officer since 1993, and during this time, he has had consistent interactions with students and parents inside and outside of the schools. Please help me welcome Kurt Greniger.
thank you, Cindy and Kurt, for your past dedication, and we will anticipate even more. So thank you, and thanks for being here tonight. The Special Education Social Studies textbook adoption.
President Lauer, members of the board, Dr. Hayworth, good evening. My name is Ruth Tobias. I'm the Assistant Director at Covered Bridge Special Education District. I work with Dr. Goler's curriculum team representing the interest of special education students. In a previous board meeting, Holly Pease presented the general education adoption for social studies, and our committee is now providing those recommendations for students with disabilities. The members of our committee participate in a very similar process. They attend, well, this year it was virtual, so attend virtually the textbook caravan, and then make recommendations after interactions with parents to get that input as well for the various options. Again, we are recommending that any students who are on a pathway to receive a diploma, that they utilize the same textbooks as our general education students. That way it allows us to have the most broad spectrum of inclusive opportunities for our students with disabilities. And for those students who are certificate students or not pursuing a diploma, we have recommended alternative texts that are in your packet. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those. Otherwise, I respectfully request that you approve the textbooks as outlined in your packet.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Now, Dr. Cobb for the CVSED board member recommendation.
Good evening, everyone. President Lauer, members of the board, and Dr. Hayworth. I would like to make a recommendation for your approval. The Covered Bridge Special Education District has a board opening, and I am recommending Mr. Caleb Fleshner. Caleb, please stand for that position. Mr. Fleshner is a local attorney. He was a student in our program during his school years here in Vigo County. A few years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, it gets confusing with COVID, Mr. Fleshner was our inspirational speaker for our staff at Covered Bridge and gave our opening speech, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So anytime you get a chance to hear him speak, he does a wonderful job. He's very active in our community, as well as supporting those in need and providing legal services as needed. He's also on the Board of Reach Services and a member of Young Leaders of Terre Haute, among other things. So I would like to ask you for your consideration in this recommendation this evening.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Make a second that.
Are there any questions or comments? I just want to thank you for agreeing to be part of this and continuing on with service to the community and to the special needs program. So thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Tom Lentes, 2021-22 school year meal prices.
President Lauer, Dr. Hayward, members of the board, the Food Service Department is requesting a approval of raising our lunch prices for our adults for next school year. We are planning to be part of the Seamless Summer program that the USDA and federal dollars are allowing us to have free meals. In doing so, that reimbursement rate raises a little bit, and we have to then raise our prices for our lunches and for breakfast for our adults. It has to be at least the amount of money that we get for reimbursement. So we're requesting an increase of $2.50 for lunch, or for breakfast, I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous here, I'm sorry. We're going to get $2.50 for breakfast and $4.60 for lunch to meet that requirement. We will also keep our à la carte prices the same, so if adults wanted to buy à la carte wise, they could still get lunch for the same amount. But we're requesting that increase to fulfill our requirement for the USDA. Does that make sense?
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question. So how much of an increase is that going to be, like, for breakfast and lunch?
You know, I just thought of that. I should have that with me. I don't, but I think it's near $1 in that area. But it's still relatively small, and if an adult wanted to come in and get a meal, they could buy an à la carte sandwich and sides and milk, and it still would be at what our price was last year.
Okay, and if you wouldn't mind to just explain for the good of the order about the Seamless Summer Program and why that is carrying over into the school year?
Well, the Seamless Summer Program is a federal USDA program that we have, and it's been offered to be able to have free lunches for all our students. So any student that comes through the line would be able to get a free lunch. It is a program they're offering, I believe, for a number of reasons. One, that some of the food service departments have taken a very big beating over the last year and a half in their budget. So this is a chance to regroup and hopefully get through the next year and be in a healthy position financially. And then two, through this part, we're not done with COVID yet. And I think that's part of what they're looking at, what would happen if we have to close down again, some of those kind of things. So, but that's the program, and that's next on the agenda, I believe, is to ask for approval to be part of the Seamless Summer Program.
Thank you.
How many adult meal prices, how many adult meals do you usually,
We served just around 5,000 last year, all year.
for adults? Okay.
For adults, yeah, that's teachers and everybody.
We have had a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And yes, you're still up for the operations fund transfer to the balance school lunch prepaid trust account.
Did you skip one?
Yeah.
Service charge procedures.
Yeah, we do.
Service charge, and yes, you've
Right.
got three.
Part of the USDA, again, and part of our program is we have to bring to the board our food charge policy. And we wanted to bring that to the board. I think you guys have got a copy of that on your agenda, or what information you've gotten. For the most part, it's exactly the same as what we've had in the past, except we've taken out the wording alternative meal. We feed every child that comes through the line. And then part of that is that we will then ask the parents to pay for those meals. When we get to next school year, for the current school year, we should not see any charges because all of our meals will be free to students. So this really won't come into effect until the school year 22-23.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there, thank you. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, you're up.
Okay, last one, I promise. The last one is again, another USDA requirement that food service cannot write off any bad debt or any debt that we've incurred. And we had some incurred debt from previous years with charges that students have run up and parents have not been able to pay. We're asking that the operation fund, I've spoken with Mrs. Wilson, and we've discussed this, and this is what's happened in the past, to cover those charges. The food service federal program can't let those charges go. It's part of a requirement that we have those covered.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Do you have questions or comments?
So you said this was a requirement to participate in the USDA program?
Yeah, it's just that with federal funds, they won't allow you to write off any debt. So it's got to come from the operation fund.
What was the amount of that?
$16,518.84.
Small price to pay to make sure every student has a meal every day.
That's one thing that we take pride in. It costs us some money, that every kid that comes through the line gets to eat, and we don't hassle them about money. We hassle mom and dad, but we won't hassle them.
We've had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Tom Balatevich, revision of student discipline rule policy.
Good evening, Superintendent Hayworth, President Lauer, and members of the School Board of Trustees. Before I begin talking about student rules, I would just like to compliment Caleb Fleshner. He's a former student of West Vigo High School where I was principal, and I couldn't be more proud of him this evening to be here tonight and named to the board of Covered Bridge. I did remark in my graduation speech, and I'll have to remind Caleb of this, that I did say and predict that he would be President of the United States one day, and I still hold that to be true. No pressure, Caleb, for you this evening.
This is just his first step.
He didn't say that about me in the graduation speech.
Moving on. I would like to present to you for your consideration a revision of the VCSC student rules and procedures for suspension and expulsion. The revision will replace policy JF and will be folded into the new Neola policies currently being adopted by the school board. The last revision of the policy was in 2011, which essentially added a few rules. That the last overhaul of the policy was in 2004. This would be considered a substantial revision. Although the content of the policy has not been changed and many of the rules remain intact, the most striking change is in the organization of the policy, which will allow for greater accessibility for students, staff, and parents. The rules are better organized and grouped by type. Our existing policy was reviewed by attorneys at the ISBA and by our attorney, John Mays, so we can feel comfortable that we have the most updated and legally sound rules available in order to continue to ensure fairness and equity to student discipline. One of the areas that I would like to highlight is the rule of bullying. Although we have always addressed bullying according to the letter of the law, the rules were not expressed for parents and students as they should. In terms of bullying, the old and existing policy was explained in 4 sentences. With the revision, the policy meets the requirements of the law and comprises almost 2 pages. This will help students and parents and staff navigate the rules in a much more simplified way. In addition, definitions have been updated as to what constitutes a weapon. Likewise, our procedures for suspension and expulsions have also been updated to become congruent with current law. The use of continued expulsion during an expulsion is now better defined, which will create a more speedy process for students and parents. Our goal is to keep students in school. In fact, over the last 25 years, expulsions have dramatically declined. 25 years ago, we had close to 400 expulsion requests, and over 200 students were expelled. In 2019-20, we had 45 expulsion requests, and only a handful of students were expelled from school. We will continue to strive to bring equity and fairness to our student discipline system. As we start off the school year, as customary, students will attend a meeting with the school administration to review the school rules, and we'll have an opportunity to question the new rules. We want to be sure that everyone is aware of the changes that have been made. At this time, I will entertain any questions.
A motion to approve first.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, any questions or comments?
How will you make students and families aware of the change?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Every year at the beginning of the school year, we have due process meeting with our students, and we will continue to have those and probably spend a little bit more time with students this year. In essence, the rules have not changed necessarily. Really, the organization is the big change there, putting things in the right place. But we want students, especially with bullying, to have a better, deeper understanding of what's going on there. That's really important. As for parents, Bill Riley will be more than happy to help me with that, to be able to put out information concerning those changes.
Will there be a paper student discipline policy that will go home with the students, or will it all be online?
We still plan to print handbooks, student handbooks, as we always have. We will continue that custom. So yes.
But it will be in the fall, it'll be after.
Correct. That's why we wanted to have this in June so we can get the policy passed.
Right. Any other questions or
I have
comments?
one.
Yeah.
At the end of the recommended changes, there's a note about right to appeal for expulsions and suspensions. Does that come before the board? And that may be a question for Dr.
That's a great question, Mrs. Lohr, and oversight on my part. That does need to come before the board for appeals for expulsion. Thank you for pointing that out.
Okay, so when we make a motion, it needs to be with that change?
I believe, Dr. Hayworth, I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think Neola may address that a little bit differently, giving the board the option to hear those appeals or not to hear those appeals. But I think we'll find a solution.
Okay.
And so we don't need to amend the motion? Okay.
I did not see anywhere in there where we had repercussions for a student that were recently overturned anyhow by the Supreme Court. We have no such. For social media that's not bullying and is off campus, it appears we do not have any repercussions for students for that anyhow.
Yeah, and I think that we're still trying to sort through that Supreme Court decision, and I think we need to have some discussion with ISBA and also with our attorney. Haven't had an opportunity to have that discussion, although I did read the opinion from the Supreme Court. Very interesting.
Any other comments? Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mrs. Donna Wilson, approval of contract with Strawbridge.
President Lauer, Superintendent Hayworth, and members of the Board of School Trustees. A committee was formed to develop a request for proposals for a corporation-wide student photography contract with the goal of bringing forth a formal contract for board approval in the spring of 2020. The committee consisted of 2 elementary level principals, 1 middle and 1 high school principal, and 3 central office administrators. Kathy Lady, the Director of Purchasing, and myself, although we were non-voting members. The committee solicited and received proposals from vendors on February the 24th, 2020, with an addendum for sports yearbooks and special package pricing requested and received on February the 26th, 2020. Before a review of all the proposals could be completed, committee activities were suspended with the onset of the COVID pandemic. The administration contacted the current vendor, Pettit Photography, asking them to extend their services 1 additional year with the understanding that the RFP process would be postponed and revisited when COVID restrictions allowed. The original committee reconvened on March 15th, 2021 to review the RFP from 2020, and the updated RFP was advertised on March 25th and April 1st, 2021 in the Tribune Star and was also posted on the school corporation website. Photography proposals were received and opened publicly on April 8th, 2021, with 4 companies submitting proposal packets. The committee came together twice to review the proposals received, solicited input from their peer group, checked references, and voted to bring forth tonight's recommendation to award the photography contract to Strawbridge Studios. The committee felt that Strawbridge Studios provided the best pricing options for our families in terms of low cost and high quality packages. Strawbridge Studios offered the following: a $10 and $20 picture packages for families, as well as multi-student discounting, a digital package option for $15, the lowest single sheet option for $7, other value-added items and commissions for our schools, and high-quality yearbook and sports options. The agreement included in this evening's board packet is a 3-year contract with both extension and cancellation clauses and has been reviewed by legal counsel. We respectfully request your approval of this contract this evening.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The floor is open for comments and questions by the board.
When your committee voted, was it unanimous? Was it, were there discussion about that? How did that turn out?
It was unanimous.
And there is a representative in the state of Indiana that you will deal with, or
Yes.
the school corporation will deal with directly, correct?
Yes, from Avon.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain.
You're abstaining.
Yes.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Irwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Killian? Aye. Mrs. Lohr?
Aye.
Mrs. Lauer?
Aye.
Dr. Powers?
Aye.
Ms. Scott?
Abstain.
Mrs. Wise? Aye.
Thank you. The motion is approved with one abstention. Mr. Miller, the following contracts with AdTech.
Yes, President Lauer, Dr. Hayworth, and members of the board, I request for approval of 2 contracts tonight with AdTech. AdTech is a consulting company that's helped us for many years. They do consulting, they help us prepare forms, form submissions, help us through the bid process of E-rate money and audit representation. They do submissions of appeals, and they do record retention and management for us. They've helped us out a lot in the past. One of the contracts tonight is for the E-rate. The E-rate contract is $14,000 with AdTech, and for the funding year and that's for the funding year 2022. Discounts and reimbursements provided through this funding application for the upcoming school years is expected to be in excess of $838,000 that we would receive benefit from the help that AdTech provides. The second contract is to help with submission of the Emergency Connectivity Fund. Those forms, we anticipate funding through this. This money to provide money for our kindergarten Chromebooks. We're asking for a piece of that money to cover that, as well as the Smart Bus Wi-Fi. And so the cost of that contract is $10,590. And so I'd like to, again, ask for your approval of those contracts.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Could you just explain E-rate real fast, just broad?
I'd love to give you real quickly on that. It's pretty complicated, to be honest with you. It's federal money that covers connectivity. And so one of the things that we recently went through was to upgrade our internet connection from 2 gigabit to 10 gigabit. And they helped us through the application process, the bid process, all of the paperwork that we do. That ended up being, like, for just our internet connection, it's $3,250 a month. That's going to start July 1st. We're going to have that upgrade, and through E-rate, we'll get back 80% of that. We'll only pay 20% because we go through all the process of filing these forms. And
So E-rate is federal dollars that we apply for and we're not guaranteed to get, and they help us to.
that's a
manage our
quicker answer,
expenses.
yeah. But yeah, it is a lot of money. So yeah, they help us quite a bit there.
Any other questions or comments? We've had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, Dr. Hayward on the VCSC and Fanning County agreement.
Madam President, members of the board, asking for you to approve the Fanning County agreement on the Otter Creek Middle School project. The the additions and renovations. For the current board in 2019, we went through an extensive process to identify an architect. Although the focus of that was more on the high schools, we have engaged Fanning Howey to be our lead architect on the Otter Creek project. This agreement has been reviewed and approved by our local council, and I'm requesting approval here tonight.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions, comments?
And the Otter Creek edition was actually something that they brought to us and said that it was needed when we had them do our facilities review, correct?
And they will be presenting at another board
At
meeting.
the July 12th board meeting.
Any other comments or questions? We had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Grants, Dr. Hayward.
I specifically asked to go in front of Dr. Goller. I did not have to follow her presentation. Intimidated after you heard Dr. Goller speak, you understand why I was intimidated. We would like to speak just briefly and get board approval for the Duke Energy Grant in an effort to create opportunities for the region's students and collaboration opportunities for the region's educational institutions. The West Central Education Alliance was awarded a $30,000 grant from Duke Energy Foundation. The VCSC authored the grant on behalf of the Young and Growing Alliance. I'd like to thank Rick Berger and Duke Energy for assisting with this grant opportunity, and we are thankful for the Duke Energy Foundation's support, which will allow us the resources to gather data and evolve as a group in our attempt to develop partnerships between education and business in our region.
Dr. Goller.
Good evening, President Lauer, Superintendent Hayworth, and members of the board. This evening, we bring you a Student Learning Recovery Grant and ask for your approval. This is a competitive grant that was put out by the Indiana Department of Education, and what it does is help us as a school corporation address learning loss from COVID-19. We are requesting approval. It's a $775,000 award, and we're very fortunate to have 4 partners as we worked on this grant. We have Covered Bridge, and I know that Dr. Cobb and Mrs. Tobias are in the audience tonight. We really appreciate their help. We're going to be working with them with some teacher assistance as well as some tremendous materials for intervention. We also have the Boys and Girls Club. We worked with Trent Miles on putting together this proposal. We also are very fortunate that the Vigo County Education Foundation is a partner with Jane Nichols. We'll be looking at some mini grants. And then Richard Payonk and Dorothy Chambers at the United Way will be helping us during our intervention time to provide more support with reading. So very excited about this partnership, again, to address not only remedial kinds of learning because of COVID loss, but also acceleration, because we know that our students missed out on remedial services, but also more acceleration. And so this grant will provide support primarily in the form of coaches. We recently have hired 4 intervention coaches. Some of our veteran teachers applied for this position, and they will be going into elementary classrooms, K to 5, during the enrichment and intervention time to provide support. They'll create a menu of services. They'll be in person as well as digital resources, and go in as a resource, both in person as well as material kinds of resources as well. So very, very excited about this grant. We will have teaching assistants working as well, and really focusing on data, looking at our Acadians reading data, our Clear Sight reading and math data to see what our students need most and addressing the learning skills that they need most. So want to thank our curriculum coordinators and coaches in the writing of this grant, as well as Dr. Hayworth for helping us with our community partners. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us to help our boys and girls with learning loss.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Do we have any questions or comments?
Dr. Goller, are these federal flow-through dollars or state dollars?
They are federal, I believe, federal dollars that are state flow-through.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This is time now for the second call for citizens' comments. Seeing none, I will go ahead with information from Superintendent Hayward. First,
I would, for board members, like to schedule the opportunity for board members to walk through our high schools and get to experience some of the conditions we've been describing in our community meetings. We will try to schedule those out over the next few weeks, and we are also looking at those possibly being student-led. Second thing, working with our local healthcare officials and following state and federal mandates, is our goal to publish a return plan on Wednesday, July the 7th, and conduct a hearing on that plan July 12th at the board meeting that will be here at 6 o'clock. Again, it's our hope that we can return as normal as possible, whatever that looks like, and begin our school year off 5 days a week instruction this fall. The last thing is to the board, we are still working on bringing you an amended strategic plan in August. That plan will not only address our post-COVID direction, but hopefully the high school building project concepts. And again, it is our goal to try to take those 8 concepts and reduce them to 3. That's all I have.
I would just like to say that I thank Janine Utterback, North High School. Northern Reflections is a literary magazine that they do yearly, and I'm going to start that out with Ms. Scott, and maybe she can bring that to other board meetings and pass it around to the board as they so choose to look through that. Really, we have some students are so good at their writings and their descriptive phrases and everything else, so you might enjoy that. Secondly, I attended the PAWS, the Performing Arts Workshop at West Vigo High School through the Looking Glass. Karen Crispin directed, and with the help of, with the direction also of Holly Pease, and it was well done, and it's always a good performance, and that these students are able in 3 weeks to put on a play that is enjoyable, and so many of them, the high school students can get a fine arts credit by being on the lighting or the staging or the acting, and it was awfully good. And I will have to put in this little note that John Newport's son was a lead, and oh my gosh, he was really incredibly good. He did a super job. So that's always something that is fun to watch. I do enjoy that, and I think that's all I've got. Any other committee reports from board members?
I just have a comment. I had the good fortune of going out to lunch at the pie company on the day when the school corporation was there handing out free books to all the children and parents of young children who came in, and that was a delight to watch people come in and say, "What, this is free?" and take them and watch the kids light up, and also watch my own son light up that dinosaur book. Now it's in our regular nightly rotation, so appreciate that very much.
Any other comments? Our future meeting will be a business meeting on July the 12th right here, same time, same place. Meeting's adjourned.